Right, good afternoon, guys. Right, I'm with Keith Blakemore-Noble, who is the UK's #1 fear strategist. Keith has helped over 5,000 people over the last few years conquer their fears. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself properly, Keith, because that's a sort of a basic introduction there of what you do and don't do. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Sally. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, the way you describe me there pretty much encapsulates who I am, what I do. The UK's #1 fear strategist. Since 2010, I've helped over 5,000 people in 5 continents to transform their lives. And that's what I do. I help people transform their deepest fears into their greatest strengths. It's using my own custom blend of NLP, hypnosis, these sorts of tools. And it's something I kind of got into by accident because I used to be incredibly painfully shy, terrified of the thought of speaking to strangers until eventually it all came to a head, and I started doing something about it. Me being me, rather than go and see someone about it, I decided I was going to learn NLP and hypnosis and use these tools purely to sort myself out, because in those days I was in IT, which is a brilliant occupation to have if you didn't like speaking with strangers.
Yeah, it's like accountancy, isn't it? I was an accountant, so we can go like that.
Absolutely. So for me, it all came to a head. I went to a Christmas party one time, because this was kind of just before Facebook was around. I was in an online group, and somebody suggested, hey, why don't we all get together in London for a Christmas party? Because I lived near London at the time. I thought, well, I know these people from chatting to them online. How hard can it be meeting them in real life? Of course, very hard is the answer. It's very different chatting with people online behind a keyboard and actually being face-to-face with people.
Yeah,
I got to the party, could feel the panic rising because I was in a room full of strangers. I ended up locking myself in the toilets for half an hour. I had a panic attack.
Wow, gosh.
I then fled the building, didn't even stop to pick up my coat because that would have meant speaking to someone, and I was in such a panic. And I ran all the way to the train station. Panic didn't start subsiding until the train was pulling away. Because I thought, you can't go through life like this. What's your life going to be like in 5-10 years time if you don't do something about your problem?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I learned NLP and hypnosis purely from purely with the intention of using it to sort myself out.
Yeah.
Which worked really well. And some friends sort of found out what I'd done, and they said, "Oh, can you help me conquer my fear of spiders? Can you help me with it?" And I was like, "Yeah, no bother." So we did it each time. It got great results, and I was sort of thinking, actually, I really enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
By that time, I was getting a bit bored of IT. I'd been in IT for 20 years.
Yeah.
Kind of getting a bit bored of it. And I was thinking, it might be nice to change over and start using my powers for good. And but I was thinking, I can't really do this because I can't afford to give up a high paid job.
Yeah.
What if it doesn't work, lose the house, all this stuff. And then the most amazing stroke of luck happened. Didn't feel like luck at the time, but looking back on it, it was perfectly timed. My position at the company I worked for was made redundant. And I'd been with them for 12 years. So they said, here's a wheelbarrow full of cash, never come back. I thought, wow. Whenever I was looking for a sign. And the rest, as they say, is history. I've been worked in the UK for a fair bit. I was out in Indonesia, based in Indonesia for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Working around Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, all around those areas. Done this in the US for a bit as well, and now I'm firmly based back in the UK.
Oh, fantastic! So you've been on. Well, we talked a few minutes ago. You were saying I didn't realise you'd travelled so much. So you've had a real variety as well.
Oh yeah. I was just looking at my old passport. Actually, just last night because I was digging through some stuff. And my old passport. It is chock full of stamps from all the different places coming and going to them all. It's like that brought back some nice memories.
So wait, do you use the hypnotherapy or the NLP, or do you use a mixture of both now then?
I use a mixture of both. Much of the time, most of the tools I tend to use are NLP-based tools, simply because you get better and faster results usually. With hypnosis, you can still get just as powerful results. Sometimes it can take a bit longer. I mean, if you've got a choice between one approach, which is going to take maybe an hour or so by the time you get somebody down into the trance, do all the work, and bring them back up. You've got another tool which does it in 5 minutes. You're going to go for the 5-minute one. When you get the same results. That said, there are some times where hypnosis is a better tool to use. And sometimes it comes down to the person's belief. If they believe they need hypnosis and hypnosis is what's going to solve their issue, we just use hypnosis because they've already kind of programmed themselves to say, I'm going to get hypnosis and that's going to fix my problem. Is that right? Yeah. I'm going to work with you. We're going to use hypnosis and bam, you will get the problem solved.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
It varies from person to person. It really, really does. Because I always, whenever I work with people, there's never a, right, here's the template. We're going to do this, and this. It's always figure out what works for the person. And as you're going through the process as well, how well did this tool work? What results did we get? Where do we now need to go? What bits do we need to polish? It's very, very interactive and dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So you going back a bit, when you say you went to this event in London to meet people and you ran for the hills, basically.
Yeah.
What was it about? Was it just complete overwhelm, or what was it that actually sort of made you feel like that?
Again, it was my, looking back on it now, I used to think it was I was shy and lacked confidence, but looking back on it, I realized it was basically social phobia. I was scared of speaking with strangers. Yeah. And I'd kind of made the erroneous assumption that, hey, I know these people, we're friends, we chat all the time, we send messages backwards and forwards. Of course, there's a huge difference between sending a message backwards and forwards on the computer and actually being with somebody in real time, face to face.
Yeah, yeah.
It's even as simple as somebody sends you a message, you can take your time and think of an answer and maybe type it out a couple of times and correct, and then send the message. Or if you're not in the right sort of frame, you think, oh, I can't be bothered replying at the moment. You don't have to. There's no expectation because it's text-based. Whereas you're there, you've got to, I mean, there isn't the pressure, but you kind of, or I felt the pressure. Oh, what do I say? How will I know what to say? What do I say next? And getting more and more and more panicky. And you see all these people in conversation. Well, they all know each other. And it was the fear. Genuine fear cropped up, and that sets off anxiety and full panic attack as you're kind of going into a fight or flight response. So the adrenaline is all kicking. It's and bam, that was it. It's not a nice thing to have, and it's similar for any fears or that people have. The same kind of underlying mechanism.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I obviously network a lot through phone networking, and one of the things I see is the first question that people always ask is, so what do you do then? And I think that is such a closed question. It just closes things down. I'm happy to answer it, but a lot of people, actually, they don't really want to know what you do. They want to know about you.
Yes, yes.
It's knowing to open, give an open question. Some people I've heard say, what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now? And people go, oh, are we talking to you?
Yeah, funny you should say that. Was the first thing that entered my mind. Well, this conversation at the moment, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Starting up a new.
But and it's difficult.
It is, and there's a really interesting thing as to where all of this kind of comes from. Because you don't always see it in. It's not a thing in all cultures. There are many cultures where strangers get together and within seconds they're talking as if they're old friends.
All right.
Certainly, a part of it is very much deeply ingrained in the British culture of keeping yourself to yourself, never sharing everything, all that sort of thing. But from what I've observed and the experiences that 5,000 clients, experiences of the clients, there is very much a common factor, and it's 4 words. It all boils down to 4 words. And I'm willing to bet that pretty much everybody watching this, whether you're watching it live, hello, or watching it on the replay, hello, I'm willing to bet that you've had these 4 words said to you many, many, many times when you were young. Don't talk to strangers.
Yes.
Don't talk to strangers. Now, of course, when we have these words told to us by parents or by guardians or teachers or relatives or friends or on the TV, the constant reminders from children's TV, don't talk to strangers, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's coming from a place of love. It is absolutely the best advice you can give the young child at that point. And there is no doubt about it, it does save lives. However, there are two howevers here. First is, although it's coming from a place of love, it's also coming from a place of deep fear. Because we're saying don't talk to strangers because we know what could happen.
Yeah.
And no matter how well we kind of try to guard our emotion and so on, you can always pick up on the emotion underlying what somebody's saying, especially when you're young.
Yeah.
And when our parents say, don't talk to strangers, it doesn't sort of come across as blah, blah, blah. Oh, and don't talk to strangers and blah, blah, blah. It comes across more as sort of, don't you dare talk to strangers because if you talk to strangers, they will kill you to death. And Mummy and Daddy will be very upset. It'll all be your fault because you spoke to a stranger. Oh, my God. Put a fear of death into it. So we have it, and it's not something that's said to us once. It's over and over and over again. It's really ingrained deep in us. Don't talk to strangers.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it is.
And my question to you is, when was the last time somebody said to you, and this is to you, Sally, and to anybody watching, when was the last time somebody said to you, you know, you're big enough, old enough, and wise enough to be able to look after yourself. It's okay to talk to strangers.
You know what? Nobody ever says it, do they?
Exactly. And you know what? It is okay to talk to strangers because you are now in a position where you can judge when it's safe. You can wisely choose. But we never get told that. So we've said, here we are at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever, and we've still got this little 5-year-old, I mustn't talk to strangers. Is it any wonder that we find it really hard to speak to strangers?
Yeah, do you know what? I had never ever thought of that, but it's so true. And yet, as a coach, we always go back to childhood memories that affect us. Never thought of that one. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? And
it is.
For some people, just having that dawning realization of, oh my God, that's where it comes from, yes. For some people, that's enough to kind of loosen things up, enough that they're able to go, right, I can find a way through this now. And there will be some people who hear that message and go, yes, I got it. I can speak with strangers now. And they will be able to find a way to kind of overcome it because the brain will already be kicking into action and already revising these things. For other people, it is deeper than that. We can maybe talk later on about some of the ways or some of the reasons that you can make deeper lasting change. And also for a lot of people, and this is something I didn't realize until I went through it myself. For a lot of people, I've seen in the past all these adverts for, are you shy? Do you lack in confidence? Take my, this was back often before the internet. So it's take my correspondence course on how to get over your shyness or these sorts of things, which are absolutely fantastic. But there's a key thing none of them cover. And it didn't dawn on me until I was in that situation. Doesn't matter how much confidence you have. Doesn't matter how well you battle conquer your shyness. Doesn't matter how well you eliminate your fear around the thing. There is still something you need. That's actually the skills, which none of them cover. Because, you do coaching as well, so you know this. You could take someone who wanted to believe they were the world's best brain surgeon. Yeah. You could help them to have the confidence and the belief and the certainty. You know what? I am the world's best brain surgeon. Yeah. That's me. I am brilliant at it. Nothing anyone can say will change my mind. I know with absolute certainty I am the world's best brain surgeon. Okay, here's your patients to operate on. Oh, I don't know what to do. And it's a shame when you conquer, because I found I used the NLP and so on to completely get over my social phobia, and my shyness, all that stuff, and instill the confidence. I'm confident. I can meet people and be absolutely fine. It said, I have no idea how to have a conversation here because I've never actually reached this point. So it's not something I ever experienced. So that was a heck of a learning as well. Yeah. And It is quite a big thing. You touched on it at the start when you're at networking meetings. Usually people say, "Yeah," break into my impression of the Queen here. "And what do you do?" Precisely because it's like, I've got to say something. It's a conversation starter, an icebreaker. What do you do? And you're right. It doesn't really lead very to much in the way of conversation. "Hello,
Yeah.
I'm Bob. I'm in accounting. What do you do?" I'm Sandra. I'm also in accounting." Very nice.
Yeah.
And
End of conversation. And you see literally the cogs going in somebody's mind, what they're thinking about, what to say next.
Yes, exactly. And whether it's in a networking meeting or at a business meeting or at a party or wherever, although the context is different, the fundamentals behind it are basically the same. It's all about get the other person talking about something they really like, find some common interests, some common ground, and as you say, ask open questions. Because the difference between an open and a closed question, they say, is one where either you can give a yes or no answer, or you just give an answer and it's done. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So if you come far, yes, closed question. Where did you come from? What was your journey like? I mean, yeah, it may be a boring question, but it opens things up. And it also, especially if you're in, I don't know, somewhere like London, use this question, major. What was your journey? Oh, geez, I was on the district line and it was absolutely rampant. You're absolutely, I find that every time. Have you tried doing it? And bam, all of a sudden you've got a conversation. Yes, it's about triviality. It's about finding a better route to get around.
Yeah.
But you've got the conversation flowing. And once the conversation starts, then there are a million and one directions in which you can take it. It's all about finding common ground. And as you say, asking open questions where you can get the other person talking.
Yeah, and it's relaxing into the conversation, because as you say, as soon as you start a conversation where people actually start to interact, and it's like, as you said, just like about a journey, you actually start to relax. So you're not thinking about asking another question. Your questions actually start to flow because, as you say, you've just found your common ground. So it's almost like that, as you would probably say, I'm not sure, but that your fear stops.
Yeah, exactly. Because you are now in flow. You've got something you can talk. You've got something that you both have in common. You both absolutely hate commuting on the district line. You both want to find a better. You both want to spend less time jam-packed in the train. You've got something you can talk about, and it doesn't mean your entire conversation is going to be about that. Because another great part with conversation is listening.
Yes.
Was it Dale Carnegie who said, it was Carnegie or Covey, one of these, who said that usually we don't listen to understand, we listen to respond.
Yes.
We're listening for the gap in the conversation so we can get our next bit in. As I said, if you listen to what the other person's saying, they will tell you so much that will give you so many clues as to how you can branch off in different conversations.
And because I always say to people, when you start a conversation, take a deep breath, like you say, so that you do listen, so that you're not automatically wanting to jump in with your next question.
Yes.
Because you miss. I did it when I first started coaching. I did a story about it not so long ago, and I said when I first started coaching, I was so hell-bent on using everything that I'd been taught and being a fantastic coach, and it was just, and I was waiting to use the next tool in my box and didn't listen to what the client was telling me. So I immediately went in with completely the wrong answer to what he was talking to me about. And it was the look on his face that went, and I went, oh no, I've just done what I just, didn't want to do. Exactly. But you get so excited about just sort of, no, I wouldn't say it's supposed to be fearful. It is fear that you're going to do something or say something wrong, that you're almost too prepared.
Yes, it's kind of like, I have to do this, and I have to do this, and I have to do this, and you're kind of railroading through it. It's something I sometimes teach people these tools and coaching and these sorts of things, and you'll probably find that you'll have found the same yourself. Something I teach them: when somebody comes with an issue, ask them a question, then shut up and listen. And they will, 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you what they need in order to overcome the problem.
Yeah.
If you just listen, they don't realize it, but they will tell you the answer to their problem. And it's then down to you to help them to realize that answer. But you get that from listening. Listening is such an underrated skill in conversation, because we're so often trying to jump in. Oh, I've got to keep the conversation going. What am I going to say next? What am I going to talk about? Will they find me interesting? I remember one time I was this is when I lived down south, and I was invited to a dinner party. And it's one of those where it's fairly formal, so you've got the nameplates and you're all sat in your particular place. So they've kind of assigned who you're going to be sat next to.
Yeah.
And the host apologized to me in advance, saying, "I'm sorry, Keith, the person I'm sat you next to, they are really not the most popular person. When they're really hard work for conversations and so on, but you'll cope with them." Okay, fair enough. I'll make my judgment when I meet them.
Yeah.
We sat, introduced ourselves. We had a brilliant conversation the whole way through. Apparently because they always write to their host afterwards, thanking them for the invitation and saying what they like. They said they thanked the host for sitting them next to such a brilliant conversationalist. Basically, all I did was just ask a few questions. It must have been 90% of the time they were talking, 10% of the time it was me kind of prompting them on to the next bit.
Yeah.
But because you're listening to what they're saying, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't like I was sat listening to a monologue going, It was fascinating what they were talking, because we got a subject of common interest.
Yeah.
They'd been to particular places, just asking them little bits about it, getting them sharing their experience. It was absolutely fascinating, because when you listen, you can learn so much. And also the next bit of the conversation really prompts itself. So what made you go there? What was the best bit about it? How did that work? Would you go back again? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah.
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 And it's another thing when people have conversations. If you find something that you've both common ground, for example, that you find you've both been to the same place.
Yeah.
So often we'll then jump in and start reeling off our experiences about that place. And the other person is kind of, you can see them kind of sag because, I wanted to share my story. Whereas instead, even though you've been to that place, I mean, you can say, "Oh, yeah, I've been there too. What was your favorite bit about it?"
Yeah.
So you've acknowledged, "Hey, yeah, I've been there too." I'm just putting that in there. So if you wanted to ask questions about it as part of the conversation, it's there. But I'm going to ask you what your favorite bit about it was. Bam, the conversation really gets going, really flowing. The other person is going to feel validated. They're going to feel you're interested in them. They're going to feel more warmth to you. And there will come a time when they turn the question around to you. "Oh, did you visit such and such a place as well? What did you think of it?" And you get your chance to put it in. So it's about not hogging the conversation. It's about letting the other person share their stuff. Because when we share stories about what we've done, it really does open us up and warm us up. And to be a great conversationalist, you can spend literally 10% of the time talking, 90% listening. The other person will love you for it, and they will feel so warm to you. And that's great, especially if you're in somewhere like a networking environment.
Yeah.
You then become known as, "Oh, yeah, I really loved spending my time with Sally. It was brilliant," because they feel so warm, because you showed genuine interest. You hardly spoke at all, but they felt they got so much out of it. Next time, "Oh, Sally, how are you doing?" Next time they know someone who needs to be kept. Sally's the person you need to speak to. She's a fantastic lady. Because you let
Do you know, I'm sat here feeling quite good now.
I'm sure you should, because you are fantastic. But yeah, it's so true. People don't remember what we do. They don't remember what we say, but they remember how we make them feel.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It's crucial when you're in networking. I mean, it's not all about, "Hey, here's my card, buy my stuff." It's about building up the connections with people. It's about getting people to know you and to like you. So when you can do that by just having a general chat with them, as you say, not asking a closed question, hello, what do you do? But ask an open question, maybe something a bit offbeat. Obviously, you have to judge it right. I mean, don't go incredibly crass and vulgar because that's what your mates down the pub like, because you're not down the pub with your mates. You're in a different environment.
Yes.
Keep it appropriate, but something that lets them start talking about something different and really engage them. A lot of people won't like it, and that's absolutely fine. And the brilliant thing is, because it's a networking meeting, in that example, or the same at the parties, people expect you to be mingling. So if you find the conversation is a bit boring or you run out of stuff, it's, well, hey Sally, it's been fantastic meeting you. I've just seen Jim over there. Please excuse me. I've just got to go and catch up with him. I'll catch you later. And you don't think, how rude. You just think, oh yeah, cool. See you later, and you move on to this. Because people expect it to be short bursts.
Yeah.
So that is also something to bear in mind. Have a good, if you need it, have a good exit plan for your chat, even if it is just I'm just going to go and fill up, get another glass of water, please excuse me, and away you go.
One of the things I got asked when I first started doing these lives was because we talked about Phil Ellis earlier. Phil Ellis is a friend of mine, and also another coach, and he spoke to me about it, and he said, what about doing the Facebook lives? And I was absolutely terrified. And he said to me, come on, the first one I'll do for you. You can interview me. And do you know what? I'm so glad he did it, because I had this absolute fear of, oh my God, what would I say? What would I say? And then I realised that all it is a conversation. And
exactly what
you forget that you're actually live on Facebook to a couple of hundred people. That completely goes. You just sat having a conversation, and the more we chatted, the more relaxed about it. And we actually spoke about this last week, and I said to him, I can't believe the difference now, because now I just switch on my laptop and I know I'm going to have a nice chat. It's like, now I'm learning from you too. So it's the whole thing that you're sharing something that gives value. But people think because you're in front of a camera, because you can see yourself, it must be scary. I mean, I don't know if you've had that, or you've sort of talked to people about that, because I know there's a couple of people I know that like to do lives and things, but they've said to me, oh, how do you do it? And I said, just have a conversation.
Exactly. It's the thing with cameras is it really does seem to throw people off. I remember a good few years ago now, when I did recorded my first bits to camera for work stuff. I thought, you know what, I'm going to do, what was it, 4 5-minute videos. So it's going to be one will go out each day for 4 days. 5-minute videos, 4 of them. Maybe take an hour to record them, half an hour to edit. Bam, done. It took me a day to do the first one. Because I kind of got it all sorted in my mind, and every time I switch on the camera, it's like deer in the headlights, or you get partway through and then I'd say it's like, oh God, no, I've got to start again. It's like, it is just, as you say, it's just a conversation. And whether you're doing it a Facebook, two-way Facebook Live like we're doing now, it's just two people having a chat. When I do my radio show, video show, podcast, whatever you want to call the thing, that's one of the things I say to my guests before we go on. Hey, look, this is just you and me having a chat. I'm here to find out more about your expertise, here to probe you for more details. It just so happens other people are going to watch it later, but it's just you and me having a chat. That's all it is. If you're doing a solo Facebook Live, just think of it as you having a conversation. It's just the other you're kind of in your head filling in what the other person will be asking.
Yeah,
and it's just you and another person having a chat. When you're doing videos for, I know, perhaps for courses or for informational videos or whatever, again, just don't think of the camera, oh, this is a camera and there's going to be lots of people watching. Hey, guess what? First few times you do it, there's probably going to be nobody watching. But that's the way it is. Just think of the camera as your mate, and you're just explaining something to your mate. I know what some people do to kind of get themselves started is they actually put a photo of somebody right by the camera, so they're just looking at that person. So they then get the, hey, I'm just having a chat with that person. I think also something that can really work is, especially is hide your image. Because, you know, on like if you're doing it on a camcorder, you've got your screen so you can see what you're doing. turn it away so you can't see yourself on the screen.
Yeah.
You're now not focusing on, why am I moving my hand? You're now just focusing on talking.
Yeah, I always find that space of sticky up hair that you keep looking at. And I start playing with it.
I mean, for example, for right now, we're using Zoom, and the way I've got it set is I've got the two thumbnails of the two video feeds just up in the corner.
Oh,
but
right.
you are the pinned video for the full feed. So
that's
it's
scary.
Not at all. It's just you and me having a chat. I've got the pinned one up there just so I can see if something bizarre happens.
Yeah.
But I'm focusing on you. So it's just, as you say, it's just you and me having a chat.
Yeah. So when you actually had that realization that you needed to do something, what's the first thing you actually started to do to help yourself into the world of actually, I suppose, being more sociable?
Great question. Again, it was another of those coincidences, piece of luck. You could call it that. Of course, as we know, when you start focusing on something, your RAS starts looking for these things, and it comes to your attention. So it wasn't just that it just so happened this one-off event happened. This event happens many times. It's just I happen to be keyed in. Oh, I'll go for that. But it just so happened fairly soon after that, there was a weekend personal development free seminar in London, and a friend of mine had been to it before, and they knew what it was like, and they fancied going again. And they talked me into it, and I was going, I don't know, it's a room full of strangers. They said, look, don't worry, I'll be with you the whole way through it. I'll stick with you the whole way through. You promise? Yeah. Oh, okay then. So I went, because I'd never I hadn't heard of NLP itself by that until that point.
Yeah.
But I hadn't really paid much attention to self-development, personal development. But I went to this seminar, and some of the things that it's one of those ones where they take you through some of the processes, so you get an idea for it, and all this sort of thing. It's like, wow, this is quite powerful stuff. This, and I remember seeing a demo. They had brought somebody on stage, one of the audience, who had always wanted to perform on stage, but was terrified of the idea.
Yeah.
They took them through a process, and then the host basically kind of just stepped back, cued the sound people because this person always wanted to dance to Michael Jackson on stage, but was terrified of being in front of people. Went through the process. He then cued the sound guy who played a Michael Jackson song, and the guy did his Michael Jackson dance for 30 seconds or so. And I was sat reasonably near the front at that point, and I was thinking, because you could see the person visibly sort of terrified at the start, and you could see the transformation by the end. And I was thinking, either this is genuine or that's an incredibly good actor, and you're not going to get that. They're not going to have the budget to hire that good an actor who nobody has ever seen for something like this. So maybe there is something in this. And then we went through a similar process. And I was like, wow, you could feel the changes. So at that point, I was thinking, there is something in this, and the back end sales, because obviously with all these big events, as you know, when they come over, they sell. It's designed to upsell you into stuff.
Yeah.
And this particular one, it was selling you into NLP hypnosis coach and training. And I thought, I got a lot out of this. You know what? There is something to this. I didn't do the whole run to the back of the room and sign up there and then, because I have a policy of never, ever signing in the moment for anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I took all the details away because I knew they would be back again for another event, because they'd mentioned earlier that they're back again in 3 months' time. So I thought, I bet they make the same offers every single time because they run these events multiple times. They're going to do the same offer every time. So I took all the details away, read through it all, kind of decided, you know what, this really could do something for me, because it was a few weeks afterwards. I still felt the benefit of some of the work that we'd done. I thought, I'm going to go for this, because you know what, I could try and see a coach or whatever, but it's a bit scary because I'm then having to talk to a stranger about all this, about how I can't talk to strangers.
Yeah.
Or I could do this, and because I've always loved learning. And something I'd forgotten about, my sister reminded me, when I was about age 10, I was fascinated with the idea of hypnosis because we'd seen it on TV.
Yeah.
And I used to go around pretending I could hypnotize. And apparently I would tell basically anyone who'd listen, I'm going to find out how hypnosis works. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to become a hypnotist. Completely forgot about that in the intervening years.
Yeah.
But something at the back of the mind was still there. Went, yes, I'm going to learn this stuff because I'm going to become a hypnotist, and I'm going to learn this other stuff and use it to sort myself. So went to the next event. Obviously, I figured out when they were going to start doing and if you're under the back of the room, first person there gets blah, blah, blah. So I made sure I was, right, first person there, got the stuff, and that signed up and learned all of these amazing tools. And that was the start of a journey that I would say I'm still on. Obviously, there's always more.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. So if somebody approached you now, what is it that what's the common theme around people that you find when people do approach you about sort of the fear of talking to strangers, as we say? What's the common theme that you find?
Okay, so the common theme why people come to me in the first place with that fear is because they've realized, and it's the same for this fear, and it's the same for any other fears or phobias, they've realized it is causing them a problem. And it's causing them a big enough problem that it's now time for them to do something about it. Because that's a key thing. If you have a problem in life and it's not causing you a massive problem, you're not really going to do something about it because there's no real need.
Yeah.
But it's when it becomes a problem, when it's hindering you, when you can see, God, if I don't do anything about this, this is going to be a problem for the rest of my life. What's your life going to be like 10 years' time if you don't do something about this? It's a conversation they will have had with themselves, consciously or unconsciously. But you always reach that point where you go, I have to do something. And you know what? I don't care. I need to sort this, because they can see what's on the other side of it. They can see, when I get rid of this, I can do X. And particularly with speaking, fears around speaking, whether it's speaking to strangers, very often it will be, I need to go networking to build my business, but I'm terrified of walking into a room full of strangers. Yeah. Or it could be, I've just been promoted. I now lead a team. I've now got to speak. I've now got to run the team meetings. How can I stand up and speak? I had somebody
approach me in my challenge, actually, and that was one of his challenges.
Exactly. Or you get, I've now been promoted. I now have to represent my team to the higher managers. How do I speak up in that meeting? So you get those. You also, the other big one is, I need to speak on a stage in front of people, but I'm terrified of it. Yeah. I had a friend who represents a brand of jewelry, and she was doing well in it, and they told her, right, you're coming over to Germany and you're going to be speaking in front of 200 of your fellow reps. She was like, shoot. They wanted her because she was one of the leading sales in the UK. So it was to share with at the European conference, share how they do this, how she does it. She's like, I can't stand up in front of 200 people, but I have to do it, because if I don't do it, then all my credibility with the company is gone.
Yeah.
If I do it, there are more opportunities for me to grow and rise up. So of course we did our single session, and naturally she went out there, absolutely nailed it, loved every second of it, and was booked to do several more. But it's people. I mean, a lot of people have fear about speaking in front of strangers or speaking in front of groups, but it's something that will never happen in their lives. So there's no reason for them to do anything about it.
Yeah.
But it's when you realize, oh, this is stopping me from achieving this. If I conquer this, these are the other things I can do. That's when it really opens you up to, okay, well, it's scary to do something, because change can be very scary. because it's having that fear is in a way comforting, because you know how to react, you know what's going to happen. It's a comfort. Yes, it's scary, but it's also comfortable. I know I'm never going to be able to stand up in front of the stage in 500 people, so the situation's never going to arise. I'm comfortable where I am. All of a sudden, oh my God, I've got to speak. Oh, now what do I do? Do I go up there and die on stage? Do I refuse to go and endanger my career? Or do I do something about it?
So what tips, without giving your whole coaching program away, what tips would you give people where to start with something like that then?
Cool. So there's kind of two different areas. There's some tips, and I'll give you some of these tips. And for some people, this will be enough, and they'll go, you know what? I've got what I need. I can go out there and ace this, and that's absolutely fantastic. More power to them. More power to those people. Great for them. For other people, these tips, they will kind of help to ease it a little bit, but you'll still want to make more deep-seated change, because usually that's the sort of people that I will end up working with, the people who know, okay, I kind of get that, but I need to make deeper seated stuff. So absolutely no problems with the tips, but it's so about introducing yourself to strangers. Let's look at two areas. One is when you're with a group of people, and then we'll maybe take a look at a couple of tips where if you're on stage speaking with people.
Yeah, that's a selfish perspective on that one.
Yeah. So we've kind of covered already in our chat. We've covered quite a few of the tips for speaking with people, but it's good to recap. So remember, it is just a conversation. Quite often, the other person is just as nervous as you are. Because that's one thing we don't realize. We're always comparing our internal experiences with what we see outside on other people. Yeah. Take you back to exam time at school. I'm sorry. But exam time at school. The invigilator say, you may now turn over the paper and begin. So you turn over the page and you go, question 1, I'll come back to that. Question 2, I'll do that in a minute. Question 3, you've gone through them all thinking, I don't know any of these. And then you look around and you see some other people are there scribbling away, right? And you're thinking, oh my God,
hate them.
They know all the answers. I know nothing. If you could get inside the head of that person who's scribbling down, they're not going, oh yeah, I got this. Here we go, Oxford, here we come, no bother. They're more going, oh my God, oh geez, well I know that bit. So if I start writing, maybe something will come. I don't know. Oh God, I wish they were asking a different question. They're just as panicky as you are. But we just see the calm exterior. It's like that whole thing about the swan gliding serenely along under the surface, paddling away like mad. It's got its little outboard motor, depending. So when you're having conversations with other people, particularly when it's a group of strangers, they're probably just as nervous as you are. And if you take the lead, they'll be thinking, oh, thank God. Thank goodness you started the conversation. Whew. Have some conversation openers, which are open questions, which are all about helping ease into the conversation and giving the other person something to talk about. There's not necessarily just the same old, hello, what do you do? It can be something just as, and obviously make it genuine. Yeah. But it can just be something as simple as, hey, Sally, I love that necklace that you've got there. Where'd you get that from? Bam. Yeah. You'll be able to tell by the person's response whether this is an opening we can follow, because for some people, I got
my birthday present and it was from Pandora.
There you go. Very nice. What else did you do for your birthday? Was it a big birthday or? Bam,
Don't ask me that. I'm too old for
that now. But suddenly we've got some topics we can talk, and you're laughing. If you can get someone laughing in the first few seconds, wow. Yeah. Off to a great start. Or they might be closed up about it, in which case you've offered a compliment. You don't then follow down and drill in with the questioning. So it is just a compliment and you switch on to something else. Yeah. So at some level they're thinking, oh, well, that was nice of them. And they didn't probe. Oh, this is actually a decent person. And it can be just something as simple as that. Or, hey, Sally, how do you know the host?
Yeah, absolutely.
And hey, now's our chance to start swapping embarrassing tales about the party host. What better way to bond?
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, ask open questions that give people a chance to talk more. Find things that you might have, themes you might have in common. Now, if somebody's got a branded T-shirt, brilliant. You know, if they've got like a team on it or a band or whatever, bam, you've got loads of possible openers there. And listen to what they're saying.
Yes.
Listen to what they say and ask questions, kind of prompting them to talk more, because usually people will love talking about things that they like. And hey, what's most people's favorite topic of conversation? Themselves. Exactly. To find things that they can talk about. Now, that said, you will find, particularly if it's a very introverted person, they hate talking about themselves. So if you're getting a lot of resistance, switch up the conversation around and they will then start to relax, which is something that very, very few people teach, but it is a very important thing. If you start trying to get an introvert talking lots about themselves, you're not going to get very far. If we're ever if anybody watching this, if we ever meet up and we're strangers and you start trying to get me talking about myself, you will probably find I keep turning the conversation around on you and we're talking about you. 9 times out of 10, you won't notice it.
Yeah.
And we'll be having a great conversation. But it's not out of any secret. It's just, I don't feel comfortable talking about me. But hey, let's talk about you because you are really fascinating. I mean, that is a beautiful necklace. Bam. And we're back to talking about you again.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so don't try and force the conversation, but most people will really enjoy talking about themselves or talking about things they've done, places they've been, or favorite bands, TV shows, books, plays, whatever is appropriate for the event that you're at. Yeah,
absolutely. That's brilliant.
And you will find once the ball's rolling, it's much, much easier. And all conversations come to a natural end. For some, it will be a long way down. For some, it will be fairly short. Most of the time, that's absolutely fine because you're at a party where you're supposed to mingle, or you're at a networking event where ideally you want to engage with every person in the room. Yeah. So everybody knows conversations are going to be short. Have a kind of closer, a finisher, a way of gracefully getting out of that conversation. I know a technique one person uses. This isn't going to work for everyone. It works for him because he has that kind of cheeky persona. But if he's at an event or whatever, he'll see a group of people talking. He hasn't spoken to them before. He'll just bound up to them. Hello, we haven't spoken before. I'm Fred. What? Blah, blah, blah. Start talking. And 9 times out of 10, people will warm to it. It's fine. Then when it's time to go, you go, right, well, I've bored you all enough. I'm off to bore someone else now and walk on. You go, whoa, who was, oh, wow.
I must admit, I'm guilty of that.
But he does it.
What everybody else is doing. Why am I not included in that conversation? I need to go and find out what it is.
He does it in such a way that it warms people when he comes in. And they also warm to him when he's leaving again as well. Yeah. So, but with conversations, just as I say, open questions, find some common ground, get the other person talking, and listen to what they say, and prompt them, ask them questions based on what they've said. Don't grill them, don't make it an inquisition, but just come from a position of genuine curiosity. You want to find out a bit more.
Going on to sort of presenting in front of people, one of the things that I got, because we've got 10 minutes left, one of the things I got taught when I was sort of entering into this world and also presenting was, because I was actually terrified of I had a team I had to speak to, and one of the things that somebody told me was, if you don't partake, sort of give of your knowledge and share what you have learned and guide, how selfish of you. And I thought, I never thought of it that way, that, actually I have got something to give. So I'm actually teaching you something. I'm actually helping you, supporting you. If I don't sort of share my knowledge, then that's really selfish of me. And that, for me, flipped it completely and made me feel so much better about it.
Exactly. That is a very, very good way of seeing it. Yeah. How dare you hoard all your knowledge? These people will benefit from it, and you are refusing to help them. Why? And it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Now, with speaking on stage, whether it's a small group or a large group, couple of really important things. One is you're only ever having a one-to-one conversation anyway. Always treat it as if you're just speaking to one person. Just there happens to be 500. It's happening 500 times, but you're just speaking to one person. Always treat it as though you're speaking to one person. And that includes the language that they use. Instead of when you go on and say, hello, everyone, nice to see all of you here. Connect with them. Hello, lovely to be here with you. Because it's you. I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to everyone, which means I'm talking to you. Great that you were here. I'm glad that I'm privileged that you've given up your valuable time to listen. I'm going to share everything I have with you to help you.
Yeah.
Make that connection, because it's amazing the difference in the audience reception when you drop the everyone, you all, and just make it you. Because they feel a deeper connection. It really does make a huge difference. The second point is, remember, the vast majority of time when you're asked to speak on stage, it's because the people are there because they want to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
Yes, it's slightly different when you're a teacher. 90% of them don't want to be there. But usually it's excuse me, because the people are there because they want to listen to what you have to say. They have decided, out of all the things I could be doing right now, coming here and listening to what Sally has to say is the best thing I could be doing. Yeah. I'm here for Sally. I want to know what she knows. I want to listen to her. They are there because they want to listen to what you have to say. They want to learn from you. So they're not there to boo and throw things at you. It's not like that local flea pit comedy club where the heckling is the sport of the day. They're there to listen to you. And in most cases, you know more than they do about your topic, which is why you're there.
Yes.
Another very important thing, so many people think, oh, what if I forget what I'm going to say? What if you do? So what? Carry on. There's a couple of ways you can do it. One is you can just switch on to a different part of what you're talking about, because you fundamentally know what you're talking about. It's just you may have forgotten which were the key points. So make sure you've got your key points. And it could be you just list your 5 bullet points on a piece of paper on the thing in front of you, on the table, on the floor. You just got your 5 bullet points there, for example. Or you can use memory hooks just to hook into the flow, make sure it flows.
I actually use pictures.
There you go. Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. But even if you do forget, you haven't forgotten the topic. You've just forgotten the particular thing you're going to talk about. You be open and honest. Like, I've completely forgotten where I was. What was it we were talking about? Oh, of course, yes. Thank you. And then go. People are like that because you're human.
Yeah.
I've seen 3 very good comedians, professional comedians, who will forget what they're talking about on stage, and they will make a joke out of it. Or they will own up to it, or they'll, Billy Connolly, Bill Bailey, and Eddie Izzard.
Yeah.
And all 3 of them, certainly with all 3 of them, if you watch the same show 2 or 3 nights in a row, you've actually got 3 different shows, because often they'll wander off onto completely different tangents. Eddie Izzard, I saw him one time, he was talking about something, an audience member shouted something, and 10 minutes, we were off on a complete tangent.
Yeah.
Where the hell, what was I talking about? Ah, yes, boom, and then back to wherever they were. So Bill Bailey was doing something one time, and I don't know what threw him, but for some reason, he just completely forgot where he was in his set, and he just went, "You, what was I talking about?" "Ah, yes, that's right," and back on with it.
Yeah, brilliant. That's it.
Yeah, just say, I completely forgot what that point was. We'll come back to it. Remind me, we'll come back to it. The next, people aren't going to judge you for it. It's not like Strictly where you're going to get marked down or booed or thrown off. As long as you show that you know what you're talking about. You've still given them information. That's fine.
Mm.
Also, remember, you are the only person who knows what your talk was going to be.
Yes. Yeah.
If you forget a chunk, nobody knows that you forgot that chunk. So it's absolutely fine. As a sideline, I do entertainment, so I do hypnosis and magic stage shows. It does all fit in with the grand plan around conquering fears and so on. But I was doing one trick where I have three people up on stage, so you can imagine you're kind of trying to keep track of three people and all stuff. And there was a bit of the trick I completely forgot, because there's a bit I do early on in the setup, which then sets up for the finale.
Yeah.
Because of what was going on, I completely forgot a little bit of it, which meant I had to change the way the finale works completely. Only I knew that. Everybody else just saw it and went, wow, I love that. They didn't know that there was basically an entire trick missed from it. Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
No, that's the key thing. People don't know what you're about to say. So
exactly, because if they did, they wouldn't be there.
No.
I mean, it's not like you're doing a performance of Shakespeare where you have to recite it word perfectly because the audience knows every word. So remember, the people are there because they want to listen to you. They want to learn from you. They're there. They're supporting. They're rooting for you.
Yeah.
You're just having a conversation with one person, just doing it 500 times simultaneously. But it's just you and one person. Only you know what you're talking about. So, hey, if you mix some bits of it up or fluff some bits, that's all right. Toward the end of it. Hey, just going back to what we spoke about at the start, remember you can also do X, Y, and Z. Yeah, just something to remember there. Anyway, conclude. It's like, oh, wow, they just gave me some bonus information. I like Sally even more now. Just throwing in extra bits there. Cool. Because they don't know that you missed a bit. Or you could just be completely honest and go, you know what? I completely skipped over step 2. Should we go back to step 2? Or do you want to just ignore it? Yeah, let's go back to step 2. Fantastic. And people will like you for it because you've shown you're human. You're not an automaton doing a recording. Yeah.
Oh, it's been absolutely fantastic, Keith, for all these nuggets and talking to you. I could sit here for another hour, but unfortunately, I don't think we can. So thank you so much for today. I really enjoyed it, and I know that people will get a lot out of this. So I'll go and promote it, and then it'll be on YouTube as well tomorrow. Where can people find you?
They will find me all over social media. Just look for the name Keith Blakemore Noble, or best place of all is my website, keithblakemorenoble.com. Brilliant.
Well, thank you very much for that. It's been fantastic talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sally. It's been an absolute pleasure.
All right. Take care. All right. Bye.